A 59-year-old man from Brentwood has died following a crash at a karting club in Colchester last night. The man had been go-karting with friends when he crashed into some tyres just before 7 o'clock. They gave him first aid, but he died later at Colchester Hospital. It's not yet known whether he died of natural causes or from his injuries. Firefighters have been tackling a fire in Norwich's historic city centre. It broke out in the Zizi restaurant in Tombland, close to the cathedral, at around 11:45 this morning. Sasha Twining watched as events unfolded.
This was the scene, dense black smoke and flames pouring from the upper floor of Zizi's restaurant. Hundreds of shoppers and office workers watching to see if it would spread to the historic buildings around, some dating from the 13th century. Norfolk Fire Service say they were in Tombland within 3 minutes of the alarm being raised. They called on fire engines from around the county. At one stage, 50 firefighters were at the scene. Restaurant staff and office workers were all evacuated from surrounding buildings. 70 people have been working in a solicitor's office right behind the restaurant.
Everyone's a bit worried about the fire catching onto our building because they're so close in proximity. So everyone's a bit worried about the scaffolding that we've got around the building at the moment catching fire.
Just incredible spectacle. I mean, there are so many people here sort of disrupting people's lunch hours and stuff like that. So, yeah, you could see the smoke from a mile off. It was incredible.
Firefighters say it's a good job they were there so quickly.
And an area of Norwich which is what I would call traditional build. It's an old historic area. It's not built to modern day standards, and there is the potential for fire to spread quite quickly in that type of environment. But down to the knowledge and profession of all the firefighters today, they've prevented the fire from spreading, and it could have been a lot worse.
With an investigation just starting, there's no word as to when the restaurant will be reopened. Sasha Twining, Anglia News, Norwich.
New MOD documents have revealed a full-scale missile scare at a Suffolk air base. Around 70 workers were forced out of a hangar while bomb disposal experts made the area at Wattisham airfield safe 2 years ago. It's believed military engineers accidentally posted a missile from an Apache helicopter from Afghanistan. Speed cameras in Norfolk could be maintained through a deal between the police and the council. The council had decided to scrap the cameras to save money, but it has now agreed to explore a proposal put forward by Norfolk Police to share the costs. Police believe safety cameras have halved the numbers of people killed or seriously injured on the county's roads. The Norfolk and Suffolk Broads could be under threat from government spending cuts, according to the RSPB. The charity says the Broads rely on management and maintenance, and that neglect could lead to their eventual destruction. Jim Rice has more.
The carefree life of a bird on the Broads might not seem to have much to do with spending reviews, but if funding is about to take a dive, they could become inextricably linked. The RSPB is warning that the future of landscapes like the Broads could be under threat if money is taken away from vital conservation projects.
Species like the bittern, which is iconic in our reed beds here in the Broads, some of our farmland birds like tree sparrows and cuckoos. If funding that's available for those habitats and those species to try and recover and to try and do a little bit better is slashed, then so will those species go too.
A view supported by birdwatchers and walkers out on Ranworth Broad today.
I think it's our heritage. I think we do need to keep these places so we can conserve things, and we've got the birds there and the wildlife.
I understand the financial worries of the government, etc., but this is so much part of England and East Anglia, having all these beautiful places.
Opinions you might expect from people out enjoying the Broads, but with every aspect of spending being watched in detail, cuts seem inevitable.
We really can't fall into the trap of taking a short-sighted approach to these cuts. If we don't look to the long term and look to protecting our key wildlife species and the environment around us, we're not going to leave anything for our future generations.
The Broads and its wildlife were here hundreds of years before phrases like budget cuts and fiscal deficits were ever invented. The RSPB is determined they should remain unscathed by economic considerations. Jim Rice, Anglia News, Ranworth Broad in Norfolk.
Scientists in Norfolk say gardeners can help bumblebees by planting more striped flowers. Researchers at the John Innes Centre in Norwich found these stripes act like airport landing lights, attracting the insects. Bees apparently prefer these stripes to plain flowers. They also like flowers with red in them.
In terms of maintaining bee interest, then gardeners could grow some of the brightly coloured flowers, like garden snapdragon, and they could also grow stripy ones, which are attractive to them, and they're more likely to attract bees into their garden for that reason.
In sport, Suffolk boxer Anthony Ogogo is aiming for gold tomorrow in the middleweight final at the Commonwealth Games in Delhi. Ogogo beat the tournament favourite Vijender Singh of India in yesterday's semi. The 21-year-old who trains at Lowestoft now faces Eamon O'Kane of Northern Ireland and told ITV's Steve Scott that nothing less than gold will do.
I've had such a hard draw. I boxed a youth Olympic champion. She's like ranked in the top 8 in the world. I boxed the world #1. I boxed a horribly strong African. And I boxed 11 Kiribati. I've had it far too hard to give up my gold medal now, so I need to win it.
Stansted Airport has been recognised for its efforts to improve energy efficiency. The airport achieved the Carbon Trust standard by reducing emissions from its buildings and vehicles by nearly 2% over 2 years. Its schemes included a carbon-neutral terminal extension.